Well, good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome all members of council this morning and all members of our staff that are in attendance to provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of all residents in our municipality, whether they be full-time or seasonal. Welcome also to all members of the public that are joining us this morning and media that may be in attendance. Meetings of council are live streamed on the Township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest to indicate at this time or potential conflict of interest of any agenda item that we have today? Hearing none, we do have the minutes from the 13th of January of our council meeting and the committee of adjustment of the same day, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of these minutes, please. Councillor Blake and Miltonberg seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the minutes as provided in items 3.1 and 3.2. Are there any questions on either of these set of minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to regarding any agenda item that we have today. If you would like to make any comments, please go to the podium and indicate your first and last name and the agenda item you're addressing. Seeing none, we do have two delegations this morning, and we're going to start with the Senior Active Living Center in Dungannon, and it is a pleasure to welcome Stephanie Hartwick to the podium to address council on this subject this morning. Welcome, Stephanie, and I will remind all delegations they have up to 10 minutes for the delegation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Council, Mayor McNeil. Thank you for this opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Stephanie Hartwick. I'm the Executive Director of the McKay Center in Dungannon and also overseeing the McKay Center in Goderich. And we are currently preparing our annual request for the SALT funding. After the initial application last year, the government has increased the amount of base funding for the coming year's applications to $55,000. As per our agreement with the province, we are required to have a financial commitment of 20% from our municipal partner. This year, we'd like to request the same financial support as last year in the amount of $10,000. We are also adding to our application the in-kind rent support that we get from the Dungannon Community Center. That supplements our community commitment, and we're here to formally ask for the financial commitment. We're excited to continue planning for 26-27 year in Dungannon. The visits to the center are now over 1,000 since we started programming and having activities in July 2025. The weather has been challenging in January. However, we weren't totally surprised by that. And we have adjusted to add a lot of Zoom programming so that enables us to continue to offer items and programs for seniors to do in the community. We're developing a solid membership. We're over 20 as of today, and that was my target for our year. To start, we encourage members from Goderich to come and take part, and they still continue to support the Dungannon Center. I've had a lot of very, very positive feedback from members in Dungannon and in the greater Goderich community too. So Kelly has been amazing in supporting and promoting our activities and our events through the website, the ACW website, and we really, really appreciate all of that. We have two local staff, part-time staff. They're both from the Dungannon area, and they continue to do amazing things for our seniors in this area, and we want to continue to grow the center. So we have programming 3 to 4 days a week, depending, of course, on the weather. And we were doing Tuesdays, Thursdays, and some Wednesday afternoons. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and some Wednesday afternoons. And we have also submitted a seniors community grant application on behalf of the center to put in a raised garden in the backyard of the Dungannon Center, which I think will benefit the community immensely. So that's pretty much all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Stephanie. And first, I'd like to say thank you for what you're doing for the seniors in that area. It is an underserved area, and it is certainly satisfying the need of the population. So thank you on behalf of council. And so I'll open it up to questions or comments, and the first would be Councillor Miltonberg, please.
Okay, I have no questions for you. These are comments for the people who are making the decisions, whatever that name is. Word aphasia right now. I actually listened to the meeting from the initial request. And the concerns we brought up then was, I was not impressed with the short timeline and that there was no data behind it. Bill was happy to do it once. Anita wondered about what the DCA thought about it. Evan wondered about specific programs. Glenn was content with one time only. And so the motion that came out of that long conversation was a 1-year commitment as a pilot program. So I mentioned at the time that I ran a pilot program at Kingsbridge. For a pilot program, for any program actually, to get future funding, you have to do a report. So for example, this is right out of a line. It's from the Kingsbridge Board report. Over 246 attendees total across all programs, 19 unique volunteers, 250 hours of volunteer donated to these events. There were a total of 5 agency partners and 7 independent partners. So that was the kind of information I was expecting. We didn't receive any. None of our concerns that were mentioned in the meeting have been addressed. The deadline for this is actually February 5th. So there is no time to debate this again. So then I printed off the 28-page program guidelines and read them. And the 2026 budget submission form, you are required to provide metrics about the number of specific health and wellness activities and services your SALC program is planning to facilitate across or to host to support seniors in their accessing health services. So we know that information is available. It's included in the grant report. And in fact, what I didn't write down was in that meeting in their agreement with Godrich, they submit financials, I believe is what they said, because Godrich pays for that building, so they get to see the numbers. So then I went to the performance measurement, and reading right out of here, this would be information they have. They have to say under participation, the number of members or unique participants, the operations, the number of days, the connectedness, service, providing seniors with services they need, improving access to seniors, partnerships, descriptions. Everything that I did for another grant is required from this grant, and it was not submitted to us. So we are being asked short term to give $10,000 to an outside agency. Now, we heard today that's 20 people, 20 unique members. Kingsbridge had 175. I totally understand starting small. That's what a pilot project is. But I should tell you that we are setting precedents. I am the grant writer for Kingsbridge. I saw this. I never applied for it because I at no point did think, I personally, council can make a different decision, think it's okay to ask a municipal partner to pay for ongoing programs that pay for fixed expenses like heat and all that. So if we do this for Dungannon, I can assure you that Kingsbridge is eligible, the Dungannon Ag Society, and they could ask for seniors program about farming and taking care of kids, or not kids, like goats' kids. The Port Albert District Recreation Society could apply for this. As far as that goes, Ben Miller and St. Helen could apply for that. Now you're talking $60,000, and the last 2 are actually our properties. Okay, so if we want to do fixed on that, that maybe is a great grant, but then what happens to our volunteers because they become paid positions? There are other grants available. I know that. NHSP, which is the New Horizons for Seniors program, which is a federal grant, Kingsbridge has received 7 times. It's $25,000. I took the SEED program, and we are in currently talks about submitting to the Ontario Trillium Foundation Grow Grant, which is $250,000 to do a SEED program. There are ways to do this which does not require council to support a private building with funds in perpetuity. This is a great, great initiative, but this is, in my way, the wrong way to do it. It is, we're saying the deadline's in 2 days. I would suggest that this grant is written. The board of directors have all the information that we were not given, and they've made decisions for their strategic plan. But does it fit ours? Hey, if we want to fund all our communities, which are all in a food desert because that's what they talked to them a lot about, how they were going to do meals. Do they? We don't know. We don't know where that 10,000 went. This was all information that, while I still wouldn't have agreed to it, would have been totally necessary before I would. And furthermore, if we are going to become a granting agency, which this is, we should be requiring that information. This is public money for private people. There's absolutely no way I can support this as it's been presented. And if council is really interested in it, I would suggest you table the conversation, because the other thing is, we have on the agenda today request for $15,000. Our budget is 50. We're now being asked to give pre-approval to a third of our budget. Last year, we went over our budget by over 50% because of things like this. So we either have a community policy agreement or we throw it out and say, yeah, come in and we'll give you whatever money you want. And we won't ask for anything. We'll just give you $10,000. And I can tell you there's going to be a big lineup. And I, as an individual, am going to be first in line. And those are my comments. I cannot support this.
Okay, thank you very much. Stephanie, do you have any comments?
I can add a few things. So the grant.
Point of order. I'm okay with that, but I was talking to the council. I wasn't asking for clarification. So if you want clarification, that's fine, but I do not need clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
You'd like some clarification?
Yes, please.
Perfect. So the Seniors Active Living Grant is an annually funded grant through the province, through the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility. We have been receiving that in Goderich proper for about, I'm going to say 20 years. Through our applications. The application grant is in process. It is not completed. And that is for budgeting. That application is for the budget for 26-27. So it's saying, what are we planning on doing? What are we planning on bringing in? What partnerships are we going to do? The focus this year is on health-related activities and connecting our members with primary care providers and primary care supports, education, information. So we've connected with a foot care nurse who's going to be coming in. We're looking at providing educational series with diabetics, the diabetic nurse from either the family health team or the hospital. We've sent out, that's what we're asking for, to provide more information for primary care services. Our year end for the funding that we received is March 31st. After that year end, we will do a full financial audit statement, which will include the monies from Dungannon, and that will be available for me to provide to council. That's not a problem at all. But our year end is March 31st. So usually what happens is we sign a transfer payment agreement with the ministry that says that we will be accountable for the funds that we spent and that we will apply for a budget for the following year to continue the programming. Usually this Seniors Active Living Center application is about a 5-year expectation, but you have to, of course, meet the benchmarks with your final report, which is due June 30th. So the report for the McKay Center Dungannon is not due till June 30th this year. And so I don't have all of the data for the full year. I'm projecting the data of what I expect for 26, 27, and that's how we're putting our application in. So it still needs to be approved by the ministry once we apply for it.
Okay, thank you for that. So the request is for $10,000 to receive a $55,000 grant. That's a potential of the request. Any additional comments or questions from council? I'll go to Deputy Mayor Vanstone, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I looked at this not in as much detail as our other counselor, but I did look at it, and there's no way I can do any of this without us going to budget first. All this stuff, we got 2 other requests on here today. We can't be giving away money and then finding out that our $50,000 that we've put away is redundant because we've already gave it to other groups. So all 3 of these outfits today that have asked for money, I would like to see them taken and brought back at budget time because, as I said, I can't support any of them today till we get into budget, because our budget talks are going to be tough this year, darn tough, because there just isn't that money out there. I don't want to see our budget go out of whack. So I think we're going to have a lot of talking. So that's my opinion, and I thank you for your time.
No worries. Okay, so the request is for seniors in our area. Any additional comments? Councillor Snowblom, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Stephanie. I support this, in principle. And I see the value in having the programming that you're offering. But I must agree with my colleagues that there's a lack of information with this request. And I understand that, perhaps your year end doesn't line up with the grant deadlines and so on. And I understand that. But when you are asking for something, I think that you need to sort of play by the rules of what we need on our end if you're requesting that. And to echo Deputy Mayor's comments, I've been saying for probably the last 2 years, I can see where it was going to be some difficulty financially coming up. And I've stated on several occasions publicly at this council meetings that I believe that we have to reconsider what our tax increase is going to look like this year, because people just are not able financially to contribute to that. So it is going to be a hard budget this year because of that, and because of possible recessions and so on. So although I do support your endeavors, I do support the people that are working so hard there, and I enjoy in so many times going to Dungannon. I'm really having a hard time supporting this request today.
And it can be financial or in cash or in kind. If there was a way to support it in kind, I'm not exactly sure. There might be some way we could work out an in kind as opposed to a cash. So it's just the ministry's requirement is 20%, from a municipality. And so that is also being supplemented by Dungannon Community Center is giving us use of the center. So we are using that amount for the rent as an in-kind donation towards the center. So that is also a possibility. And I understand absolutely the budgets are tight all over. Everything is very challenging. So there is opportunity for some flexibility. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Snowblom, please.
Can I just clarify your statement then? So the people that, just to simplify, the people that own the building are giving in kind the use of the
Yes.
building.
Yes,
So that meets
applies,
that
yeah.
meets your requirement to the province?
not all of it.
Okay.
That only meets a portion of that requirement.
Okay.
So,
What portion does it meet?
so it would meet, so they're covering a third of it. So that's roughly a third.
A third of it, and then we're covering, what percentage was it?
20.
Pardon me? What was that?
So the total.
20%,
So
okay.
the total
So
needs to
20%.
be 20%.
The total needs.
So if we
okay.
do 10% from you
Mhm.
and 10% from Dungannon, there's ways to work this. It's just we need support from both agencies.
Mhm. Can I ask questions to the CAO?
Please.
Mark, can you explain, so we don't own the building, correct? And how does this work in terms of how council supports this if we don't own the building? We don't own the building at the Dungannon Community Center, right? And we don't own the building at Kingsbridge. So how does this work differently? Because we own the building at Ben Miller, we own the building at St. Helens. And do you see a way where, I'm just throwing this out, if council was to purchase this building, how would that differ? Just your thoughts on that.
Okay, CAO, please.
Well, that's a big question. Yeah, we do not own their building. It's the Dungannon Seniors Community Center or Senior Center, whatever. Senior Center. We don't own the building. In kind, we can't do any in kind because we don't own the building. We don't have the manpower to shovel snow or clean the driveway either, and things like that, or clean the hall. We do own those other facilities like the Ben Miller Hall and St. Helens Hall. I don't have a globe that'll tell me the future. I've just struggled with the question. Maybe you can, what part of it? Florence has got her hand up too, so
Okay, thank you. Clerk, please.
I'm just going to reiterate that the application you're seeing in front of you today is because of a grant application. So the context of the what ifs of whether or not we own the building, I think it's hard to tell you on the spot without looking into it because we just don't know the nuances. Right now, we know that they're requesting 20% as a requirement for the granting application. What the nuances is of what that 20% looks like, I don't know.
Mhm.
So that's just to satisfy their granting application. It's not ours. So
And just for clarification, the ministry may not fund us $55,000. They may not. They may fund us a portion of that. So that would also reduce the amount that we would be asking for. But we will not know that until probably April, possibly May. We hope that they would fund us at $55,000, but we don't know that they will.
Okay, follow-up, Councillor Snowden, please.
Mark, you mentioned about in-kind, you don't see the ability to offer in-kind services in terms of snow removal or anything. Can we, what about grass cutting? We do have,
Okay, thank you. CAO, please.
again, it's not going to amount to 20%.
okay.
Like there's,
Okay. I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
So I'm going to make a couple suggestions. The original motion was a pilot project. The pilot project is not done. That pilot project should finish and come back if there's an interest in that grant. The pilot project ends in July. That's when, if we are going to, and I'm also going to request a staff report on something, I'll figure it out. But if we decide that we are a granting agency to this degree, we must have rules around it. We just can't hand out money without, this is public money, not what we want. I desperately want this to happen in Dungannon. I also am aware this is public money, okay? So if council at a future conversation has a conversation, and we are in talks with Sunset Foundation right now, that we want to do that, then that's a whole nother ball of wax. But the original motion was for a pilot project, which ends in July. If they want to apply for a follow-up to the pilot project, it would be next February. In the meantime, when that pilot project ends in July, the deadline for the Ontario Trillium Foundation Grow Grant, which this fits perfectly, which has a maximum of, it's over 200, I think it's $250,000, is November. You would have the money long before the next grant. There are ways to do this without this grant if we really want it. And I'm saying if we do want it, it should be a conversation, not a one-off. We already did it once with no information. And it wasn't, everybody didn't agree with that. But we said, okay, then make it a pilot project. Then let our last decision come to fruition. Make it a pilot project. That's what it is, and they're not done. So deadlines happen all the time in grants. And she's right, you get 5 weeks, but the deadline for this is in 2 days. 2 days is when this has to be submitted, boy. There's no possible way for us to get the information that I think we should require before we give out large sums of money. So my recommendation is we say no to this application, leaving the door open. They can bring it back when their pilot project is done. I further would like, if council wants to go down this road, which I think would be very, very expensive because a lot of organizations qualify for this grant, not just Dungannon, then we would need a staff report on what that would cost. But it's huge from just looking at it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clerk, please.
I think just in, when this happened originally in September 2024, there were no stipulations put around the pilot program. So with all due respect, them coming here without report and data, why would they if they didn't have to? So, if council wants to endeavor to do something like this, then there should be some parameters put around it, if not a formal agreement. Or surrounding the granting and what's required of the McKay Center to bring it back or to request again. Having these conversations annually, it doesn't have to be this in depth annually, so long as the parameters are put around it as to what's expected should this type of funding be issued.
Okay, please.
So when I looked it up and you read the motion, it said, and maybe that's what you mean about expectations, that it is for a pilot program. I know exactly what that means, and maybe there wasn't understanding. Pilot program means you do it, you get the data, you come back and say, hey, this worked, this didn't, let's try this. That's what a pilot program means, and that's what the motion was for. I think the lack of understanding amongst all parties, that's what I was voting for, okay? So thank you for clarifying, but the motion was for a pilot. But there was a lack of understanding because we don't have that written down, what a pilot program actually should entail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Snowden, please.
I appreciate all of your comments. Jennifer, you've done an amazing in-depth look and deep dive into all of this. And I think council's fortunate to have somebody on council that has such knowledge about, grant writing and so on. You mentioned about a staff report. What are your thoughts that a staff report would possibly come back with what it would look like with cooperation between council and this organization to come up with a plan in terms of grants or applications of any sort? And what were your thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you for the question. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
So my thoughts would not be for this organization, because whatever we do with this organization works for everybody, okay? So if I personally would recommend, let's go through the Sunset Foundation first. And we're in the process of wondering if we're going to take the politics out of it and all these requests coming in and talking about it all the time. That was the intent of the community grant, so that we wouldn't have these big conversations. That's my recommendation. I said, if council, not me, because I've been aware of this grant for a long time as a grant writer. I'm approaching $1 million in grants in the last 10 years. I didn't look at it for a reason. I don't agree with it personally. But if council wants to get in the business of supporting private buildings that can show need, then that would need a staff report for me to understand the ramifications, because this is a huge budget ramification. This isn't just Dungannon. We did it once as a one-off and said it was a pilot program. If you agree to continued funding, you're opening it for every organization, and they don't even have to have a building. The Port Albert District Recreation Society could have paid baseball clinics for, whoever on their things. I can tell you if Kingsbridge, I would certainly recommend to the board, hey, they're going to pay part of our finances and we don't need the volunteers anymore. Like, it has huge, huge, huge budget ramifications. This is no longer a one-off. This is precedent setting. And I think if we're going to set a precedent, we need to go forward. I also think that we don't want to leave Dungannon in a lurch. They have funding to the end of July. That is the grant, right, for the program?
The year ends March 31st.
Okay, March
So funding
31st, and
ends
the
March
grant report is
31st.
due by July. Yeah, I usually have 2 months. So there are other, I just mentioned the one that I know that's due in November. I can guarantee you there are more grants for this than just the one that requires us to put in 20%. So do I think there needs to be a grant report? Only if council thinks we should get in the business. But for this specific request that's due in 2 days, asking for $10,000 with no financials, no information, that has a huge impact, takes 20% of our budget. So I wouldn't ask for that. I think council should wait for the Sunset Foundation recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, and I'm going to make a motion that we refer this to budget time. That'll give everybody some time to think about it, and we can discuss it at that time, and whether it goes to the Sunset Committee at that point in time, because the senior citizens is very valuable, so we need to look at it. But in the same instance, we have to look at our financial situation. So anyways, I'm making the motion that we defer this to budget negotiations, and then see what happens. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion been made. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Snowblin? Any additional questions or comments to defer this to budget? CAO, please.
I just wouldn't mind if we're gonna bring it back to budget, that we receive some information from the McKay Center on finances supporting this, like the expenses and the revenues coming in, and just to support it. Because right now, you're asking for $10,000, but there's nothing supporting where you spent the money and how you're spending it and things like that. So I think for council to make a better decision during budget, they need that information
And when do you need that by?
as soon as possible.
Okay. So any additional questions or comments, Councillor Miltenberg?
If we're going to do this and Mark is looking for that information, I would also then like included the ramifications of saying yes, knowing that at least 6 or 7 organizations could also apply for that and should reasonably also expect funding if we're giving it to Dungannon.
So
Thank you.
can I just make a comment about, ministry only funds one seniors active living in the municipality. They don't want two competing unless it's in a larger municipality. So because we've already been granted this funding, it's easier for us to receive it again. But starting as a new application, it would be much more difficult.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Additionally?
Yeah, so at the time of the original meeting, because I did listen to it, we asked if it could be in either Ben Miller or St. Helens. And the answer was the grant is already written, it's too late to change it. So maybe if we're looking at funding, we also have to look at where it should be, right? So that would be part of that question for me. Thank you.
Okay, we all understand the seniors are important in our municipality. Councillor Forster, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. So us deferring that, does that, you won't get the grant or?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Based on that, we will have, because part of our application is we must upload a letter of support stating that we have the municipality or another partner's support of 20% for our application. So without that signed information, no, we would not be able to submit the
But
grant.
you could get a grant elsewhere.
We could apply for a grant. There's no guarantee that we would be successful, but for this particular grant that, we have received, it would be unfortunate to let it go, especially when we've already received.
So
You
does,
know.
so does the McKay Center and Goddard use that or?
Yes, and that's how the McKay Center of Goderich has been funded. And when we made our application, we applied as a satellite site for Dungannon. So we used our existing history, our existing financials, our existing relationship with the ministry, and relied on that to hopefully have them approve our application for Dungannon. So it was successful. And the ministry representative who came in and saw the site and saw the center and saw the programming that we offered, he was very, very positive. He could see the potential in the center. He could see what we could do. He was very enthusiastic, and that's where we have also applied for that seniors community grant. And again, the ministry is the same people. The Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility are the same people that would be approving those grants too.
Okay, thank you. So I sit on the Luck and Rec Board and I know what that's costing us and I know what Goddard is gonna cost us probably. So I think 10,000 is just a drop in the bucket, but I will be voting against the motion. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. And so we have a motion to defer this to budget. Final comment, Councillor Miltenberg.
Final comment, because there was a comment here that I would like to respond to. She's absolutely correct. Repeat funders do get preferential treatment. The McKay Center is a repeat funder, has been for over 20 years. So the question was, are they going to fund a satellite? And I would suggest that if the boards here's just a grant tip for you if you don't already know it, if the McKay board submitted that we are going to wait till the pilot program is over and do a feasibility and submit next February with all the data, that would not hurt their chances at all. And I agree, 10,000 isn't that much, but I don't ever give 10,000 without knowing what it's for. So that's why I'm voting for it.
Okay, thank you. CAO, comment, please.
So there's the motion on the floor, and I just want clarification. If we do defer this to budget, it doesn't really matter because I hear you need the commitment today or in the next 3 days. So
Mhm.
is it wasting everyone's time taking this to budget, or I'm just saying that because I think you indicated that you need to know shortly and deferring to
We
budget.
do. And this year's funding request came up early. This is earlier than usual, but the ministry is now looking after 400 seniors active living centers in Ontario. So they're trying to get the applications in earlier to be more timely, to have them processed and actually have the successful recipients receive their first installation in the first quarter. Last year, we got our first installment in June, and then we got our July installment. So if we don't have the funding continue, obviously we can't pay staff. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Clerk, please.
Just to follow on what Mark had said, that's correct. Like referring to budget, if it's not going to have a budget implication at all, is, a bit redundant. So maybe the conversation, if council still would like to have a conversation around it, would be largely around the ramifications of issuing funds such as this in the future, and whether or not there needs to be some policy around it, or whether or not that this type of request does inherently go to the Sunset Foundation once that comes forward. So the motion has been moved and seconded, so it does need to be voted on, but just making that kind of clear.
Yeah, thank you. Without a doubt, the process needs to be improved with this. So we have a motion to defer this to budget, and so I will ask all in favor of the motion. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephanie,
Thank
for
you very much for
and
your
what you
time.
do on behalf of the seniors in our municipality.
You're welcome. Thank you.
5.2 is I would like to welcome Dave Hannum to make a comments to us today from Zelenko Preamel. Dave, welcome, please. 10 minutes.
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. My name's Dave Hannum. I'm a registered professional planner and partner with Zelenko Preamel. We're the planning consultants for Mr. Ruben Smith. Mr. Smith sadly couldn't be here today. He's out of the country with his family on vacation. As you may remember, Ruben's a local businessman. He has strong ties to the local area, and his father-in-law, Paul Fagan, is the current owner and farms the subject lands, and will continue to do so. I haven't prepared a visual presentation. I just wanted to provide a little bit of time to give some comments in terms of the current consent applications, which are on your agenda as item 7.2. As you may remember, the zoning application for this subject lands was provisionally approved by this council back in November the 18th. The zoning created site-specific zonings for 8 residential single-family lots and access to the agricultural lands to the rear. After waiting over 12 months to get that favourable decision on the zoning, our client was obviously keen to progress through to the next step, so we submitted the consent applications in late November, which really had the effect of merging or adding the 3 strips of land that were identified as streets in the original plan of subdivision, and attaching them to 4 lots. In terms of the requested lot additions, they were clearly indicated through the materials that we submitted with the zoning application. The resulting zoning bylaw that was produced reflected that lot fabric in terms of minimum lot areas, frontages, and landscaped areas as well. So there's nothing has changed to the actual project since the in-principle approval of the zoning. Because this application was technically 4 lot additions, 4 applications needed to be submitted, and so our client ended up having to submit 4 separate fees to cover the costs of the application, which resulted in a total cost of over $12,000. Our client is obviously disappointed with with planning staff's continued recommendation to deny the consent applications. This is despite obviously the provisional approval by this council. We are hopeful again of continued positive endorsement of the project from this council and these applications as our client progresses through the consent process and ultimately onto the county council for the final decision. In terms of the planning merits, based on my review of staff's report, that planning staff's position continues to be that the development proposes non-agricultural uses in a prime agricultural area. Based on the relevant policy framework for these areas, the guiding principle, as I alluded to in the zoning, is to ensure that viable farmland and agricultural operations are protected. It's our professional opinion that the proposal is consistent and continues to be consistent with those for the following reasons. The proposal will not result in any significant loss of agricultural land. There's no active agricultural use taking place on the southerly portion of this property where the 8 lots are located. And this portion of the subject lands is not viable farmland. The predominant use of the subject lands, which is the 30 acres to the rear, is going to be maintained as agricultural farming. And then the proposal will not unduly impact or constrain surrounding agricultural operations through the technical materials we submitted. There was no relief from MDS setbacks, and we also provided calculations that there would be no impact on surrounding properties. So in conclusion, it's our professional opinion, it remains unchanged from the zoning with regards to the current lot addition applications. Obviously, this site is unique, and the context of the surrounding, we're of the opinion there's no risk to the municipality for its continued support of the applications, especially given the previous decision to provisionally approve it. And as I indicated, those lot additions were clearly indicated as being needed as part of that rezoning and captured through that approval as well. Obviously, the benefits for the municipality is that we're creating 8 residential lots, which allows for increase in housing supply, also for ongoing property assessments and some contribution with regards to development charges as well. The technical reports which were provided with the zoning and again with the consent application confirm that there will be no significant impact on agricultural operations. We've also had an opportunity to review the recommended conditions that were attached to the staff report as well, and our client is accepting of them. I just wanted to pick up on a couple which were sort of tied to the zoning as well, which was the lot grading requirement and the tree protection plan. So with regards to lot grading and drainage, typically as we requested and spoke to in the zoning, we would normally look to effectively defer the lot grading plan to the time of building permit, because then we understand what the actual individual houses are going to be like, so that we can deal with lot grading on a lot by lot basis. But the consultants have indicated that they can prepare and satisfy that condition by preparing what's called a master grading plan, which would effectively be used to identify the grades on the site as a whole, where the culverts are, etc. And then that would be used for comparative purposes when each individual building permit came in for each of the individual lots. So we're okay with that condition as well. And then with regards to the tree protection plan, the client's ecologist has been out on site, done the inventory, and also prepared a preservation plan, which has been drafted, and we intend to submit that to staff shortly for their initial review. So in conclusion, I would respectfully request that this council aligns with its original decision with regards to supporting this application. I'm happy to answer any questions now or later in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation to us, and I think we'll entertain questions later in the agenda when we get to this topic.
Problems.
Okay, thank you very much. 6.1 is the 2025 council remuneration and expenses. It is for information purposes. Do any members of council have any questions or comments on this? And if not, we'll move on to the planning under 7.1. and that is the removal of the holding symbol on file Mackey. That is in the proximity of Mid-Huron Beach. Do we have any questions or comments on this? And if not, I'll ask for a show of hands for consideration of this in Section 18 as a bylaw. And that is approved by council. Thank you. We'll now move on to 7.2, and that is the consent file C64, 65, 66, and 67, a preamble, a Zelinka preamble. And that is a Century Design Building Limited, as commented with Ruben Smith. And with that, I would, it has been recommended by our planner for denial. Would you care to make any comments on this, please, Megan?
Okay, good morning. Just bear with me while I bring up my presentation here. Okay. Oh, there we go. So today we do have 4 severance applications that will essentially be lot additions. I'll go through some of this quickly, but this is just more visuals for what Dave was describing. So we did have the zoning application that we heard last year. So now we are considering the lot enlargements. So the next one. So the red portion that you can see on the map there is proposed to be severed and added to lot 1. And then the middle central agricultural strip is proposed to be severed and then split in half and then merged with the abutting lots 4 and 5 respectively. And then we have the easterly strip that's being severed in half. So half of it will be added to lot 8, and then the other half will remain as the agricultural access for the farm field. So in the circulation, we didn't receive any comments from the neighbors. Our county public works department, because Blythe Road is a county road, they did comment that entrance permits will be required. And the ACW building department did comment about the drainage continuing to be a concern. So we did include that as one of the conditions, and Dave did address that earlier. We did have a comment from Huron County Federation of Agriculture. They are concerned with the loss of agricultural land. They did comment in here specifically that a rate of agricultural land is being lost at 319 acres per day, and this application would add to these numbers. So in the planning review, applications for consent must have regard for provincial interests as outlined in the Planning Act, be consistent with the provincial planning statement, conform to both the County of Huron and the Township of ACW's official plan. It has to represent good planning and be in the public interest. So the proposal seeks to introduce non-farm residential development into a prime agricultural area, which conflicts with key provincial interests, particularly the protection of that agricultural land and the orderly development of communities and the appropriate location of growth. So we do have a lot of growth going on in Saltford right now. Infrastructure is going into Saltford with the well upgrades, roads, these types of things. So it is the recommendation that the Township Council recommend to the County of Huron Council that consent applications 64, 65, 66, and 67 be denied on the basis that it does not comply with the Planning Act, is not consistent with the PPS, and does not conform to the Huron County official plan or the ACW official plan.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Megan. I will open it up for questions from council or comments on this. I'd like to ask a question first. How much land is being taken out of production for these 8 homes? potentially?
So there isn't much land being taken out of agricultural farming, but natural environment is a permitted use in the agricultural zone. So the entirety of it is being taken out of agriculture technically, because it is a permitted use.
However, I need to understand this. The building of these homes did I hear your comment at the outset? It would not take land out of production that's currently being farmed. Is that correct or incorrect?
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I'm opening up to members of council. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Going to make a couple comments to Mr. Hannum on what he said. First of all, he said his client was frustrated because he waited for 12 months for the zoning change. I would suggest it's against the ACW plan, the Huron County plan, the provincial plan. It shouldn't have taken 12 months. It should have taken 1 day, and the answer should have been no, in my opinion. So there's different ways to look at it. You could be frustrated it took 12 months or relieved it went through. He's also disappointed with staff's continuing opposition. Well, it's against the ACW plan, it's against the official plan, it's against the provincial plan, and that is their job. That is their job to represent those. So I, for one, am relieved that they are continuing to do their job, and it's unfortunate that it puts a wrench in people's plans who go against the policies. But thank you, staff, for continuing to do your job. As to the viable farmland, by the applicant's admission, way back in November when we were talking about this, the former owner deliberately planted trees so that it could be maintained and made into lots. And that became natural environment because the trees grew. And now we're saying, well, it doesn't really count as farmland because it's just trees. Well, that's kind of a slippery slope. It's all farmland. Someone planted trees on it and there's a bush there. Whether you think it's valid or not, there is. So it's all farmland. Okay, whether it's being grains or corn or trees, it doesn't matter. It's farmland. And it was deliberately planted into trees to take it out of viable commercial practices. So I think that that is really splitting hairs to say that. It's no surprise that I'm against this. And I'm saying that right now in case it's not very clear. I particularly would like to point out Huron County Federation of Agriculture. I thought the number was closer to 350 acres per day, but I'm going to go along with the 319. That's a lot. And every time we put a residential, because it's just a little lot or whatever, it causes a problem. I would like a recorded vote on this. I support the Huron County Federation of Agriculture, and I support our plan, the province's plan. I support sustainable farming. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And we will have a recorded vote. And I would like to remind everyone that we have previously approved the zoning bylaw on this, and this is a continuation of this. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I can't let this go by. We are asking that we take 1 acre out of productive farmland to do half acre. Okay, thank you for correcting me. And while we're doing this, they have no problem giving 1,000 acres to London to build farms and a lot better farmland than this is. So this really irks me that the Ontario government can see it's great to build around the cities and take up all this farmland, but us poor little country folk are supposed to keep the trees, keep the land for people to drive out of Toronto or out of London and enjoy themselves in our country. So you can tell that I'm not really happy with this, and I will be supporting that this goes through. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Snowden, please.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate Deputy Mayor's comments. I echo much of what he said. I also appreciate Councillor Miltenberg's comments, although I have to say that I disagree with much of what she said. So let's go back. First of all, that Huron County Planning Department, and I'm not saying you, Megan, it's the Huron County Planning Department has stalled this for an unbelievable amount of time that should, as Councillor Miltenberg pointed out, should never have taken this long. And I feel, standing on the sidelines, that there has been nothing but roadblocks to this development because somebody in the planning department cannot wrap their head around the idea that, first of all, what classifies a settlement area, because that seems to be one of their stopping points. There's no definition of a settlement area. Also, they're saying in a generalized form that it goes against the PPS, it goes against the official plan. They're not, other than, the area of the settlement area and the farmland, which I have done some research on, is 1/2 acre of productive farmland that is now. And in comments to Councillor Miltenberg's comments about that it was planted with trees, the trees grow, it became natural environment, but it's still part of the farming AG1 zoning. The former owner, and I spoke with him, my husband and I spoke with him about this lot on more than one occasion, and it was his intention that this was going to become residential area. I believe Deputy Mayor has made those comments when he was on a former Colborne Township Council, that this was earmarked for residential area or a development area, but for some reason or other that nobody can seem to explain, because it goes back more than 50 years, we can't figure out how that all came to be. But to respond to Councillor Miltenberg's comments, I would say that those 2 points would indicate that, to me, in my opinion, this was earmarked for residential development at some point down the road. And here we are. We're at that point right now. I want to also comment on your comments, also Councillor Miltenberg, about the Huron County Federation of Agriculture and their concern about taking out agricultural land. And I agree in principle with that. I totally agree in principle with that. But we're talking about a 1/2 acre. And I echo Deputy Mayor's comments that those acres that are being taken out for huge development on the outskirts of the major cities, I don't see anybody raising any concerns about that. And they're a lot more than a 1/2 acre. And I would also suggest that there was something in the report, I believe it was from the Huron County Federation of Agriculture, but correct me if I'm wrong. They are concerned about farmers not being able to do their normal farming practices if this development goes forward. I'll mention that as a member of the Agricultural Property Standards Committee, the FFPPA is a lot of discussion, and we've had a huge presentation by I don't know what his title was, but he was with the FFPPA. And he talked about how normal farming practices are protected under the FFPPA. And I know that that's a separate discussion around the property standards, but I believe it also ties back and dovetails into this. We have, as Megan pointed out, no comments from neighbors on this. So that indicates to me that if there was still problems with that, that should have happened, that there should have been comments on it. So in conclusion, I am expressing my deep disappointment with the Huron County Planning Department as to why they are recommending this for denial, when it was an overwhelming support back in October and November of 2025, when this council overwhelmingly supported this development. And why are they still denying it when we have given the go-ahead at this council table? I don't understand that. I don't understand why somebody in that office isn't looking at it and saying, you know what, they've approved it, we got to go forward with it, that's their decision. We need to respect their decision. I'm feeling like the county department is not respecting our decision, and I'm offended by that. And I'm also deeply disturbed at how this has all unfolded between the Huron County Planning Department and the delays and the obstructions and the constant irritation this has caused for this development to go forward. So I will be supporting this as I did previously, and I hope my colleagues around the table will look at this in those lights as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. Just a quick comment on this. Excuse me. We agreed to this already in November. This is just a technicality, an accommodation that was part of that in November that we already voted on. This is just it coming to fruition now to carry on with this application. So I'll be supporting this. All it is I think it as a technicality for what we've already voted on. That's how I'll say it. And just a comment to Anita or Councillor Snowblin on that about the planning department. I fully agree that it should be easier than what it is, but in their defense also, they have a book sent to them by the province of Ontario and they have to follow the book. And I'm not saying they always agree with that, but they have people higher up that make them. I don't think it's right, but that's what they have to follow. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and that's accurate. Yeah. Megan, you'd concur with that?
Yeah, so my job here is to look at the policies and make those recommendations to council. So based on the policy and that review, that's what I bring forward to you. And that's my job for council. That's all.
Thank you for that. Any additional questions or comments from any other members? Councillor Snowblin, please.
And I do respect that you have a job to do, and I do respect that you're following what you're supposed to do under, your job description. But my comments still remain that if this was approved, and as Councillor Hickey suggested, this is a technicality, I do feel that the county should have recommend approval based on that. But thank you very much for doing your job the way you do. You do it very well.
Thank you for that. We have a developer that is proposing to build 8 units, 8 homes. We need more development. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I agree. It's not worth the debate. However, I would like to repeat that I think the planning department is doing exactly what they're supposed to. And whether we're disappointed in the speed of it or not is regardless. It's their job and they're doing it. And they don't even have to I don't know if they like what they're doing or not. I'm not going to ask you. But she is a paid employee. She cannot defend herself. So I'm defending that whole organization. When you have that opinion, it is a technicality, yes, but I've written enough grants to know that technicalities take time and you have to do them by the way the province says, or you get in big trouble. Okay? So I fully support the planning department, the speed at which they do it. They know at the planning department, whatever they do and the speed they're going to do it is not going to change the outcome because that's up to us. And I refuse to believe that there's an entire department that's petty. So thank you, Megan, and your department for doing the job that you do.
Okay, thank you for that. Any additional questions or comments from council on this? And I think all of us would concur that you do an excellent job on our behalf following the provincial policy statement. That's your responsibility. So I'm going to open it up for a motion for either approval or denial. It has been moved by Councillor Vanstone for approval, and that is seconded by Councillor Snowblin, that the application is recommended to approval to the County of Huron, and it yes. So please, clerk.
Just in light of the application in front of us, staff was prepared for a motion to approve. I'm going to read the motion, and if the mover would like to confirm that they agree with that, then we'll proceed. And so just to also reiterate, there was a list of recommended conditions in the agenda package should council consider approval. So that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council recommended the County of Huron that consent applications C44, C64, C65, C66, and C67 Zelinka Priamo in brackets Century Heights Building Limited Smith brackets be approved subject to the conditions set out in the recommended conditions attachment in the agenda package dated February 3rd, 2026.
Do you concur with that? The mover, the seconder?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Please proceed with the, vote.
So it was, the motion was requested to be recorded. So as clerk, I will take over the meeting here. Give me a couple seconds here to organize this.
Sorry, Florence, while you're doing that, did you have anything in there with the recommended conditions or not? I didn't catch that.
Okay, so, sorry, what are you asking?
Did your
Yeah.
motion include the recommended conditions?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I will read it again. The motion so moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Snowblin, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council recommend to the County of Huron that consents applications C44, C64, where's 65, 66, 67, Zelinka Priamo, Century Design Limited Smith, be approved, subject to the conditions set out in the recommended conditions attachment in the agenda package dated February 3rd, 2026. I will call out each individual member's name in random order, and please state yes or no. If you do not respond, it is considered a no. Deputy Mayor Vanstone.
Yes.
Councillor Blake.
Yes.
Councillor Snowblin.
Yes.
Councillor Hickey.
Yes.
Councillor Forrester.
Yes.
Councillor Miltenberg.
No.
Mayor McNeil.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Megan, for your presentation to us on this, and to all of council for your consideration of this. We're good? Okay, thank you. On to the building department. 8.1 is the community on-site septic inspection program. That is for information purposes. Do any members of council have any comments? And I'll go first to Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of questions for staff, if that's okay. Clarification on these, on the points part
Yes.
of their chart. High water, high level alarm, would that be for holding tanks? Or what would require one of those?
Thanks for the question. Joy, please.
So holding tanks are required to have a high water level alarm, as well as pump chambers, anything that would have something that might overflow.
Follow up, please.
And another question would be about the lid issues, not exposed. Are all lids required to be exposed, or what? It says broken, not exposed, incorrect, replacement required. So what's the not exposed part of that?
So if they have not dug up the top of the tank to expose a lid so that the inside of the tank can be viewed, that would be an unexposed lid.
So that's just for the inspection purposes only.
Yes.
That's not, it doesn't have to be elevated then. Okay. Unspecified remedial action outstanding. Would those be major issues? Like what would be an unspecified?
So those would be some generic, not generic, they wouldn't be the generic statements that we have of those other ones. They might be something where they need to clean out the tank and remove refuse out of the tank or something like that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, and I had one here, the outlet baffle required or repaired. How do we know that it got repaired? Because it's very important to have that baffle in there.
Thank you. Joy, please.
So Envision Consultants has been following up on these, and we continually send them emails and follow up to make sure that they are going to be repairing these.
So there is another inspection done once they say that it's been repaired?
Either an inspection or a picture sent and a report sent from maybe the installer.
Perfect. Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Councillor Forrester, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. So your tank has to be pumped before you guys show up. Is that how this all works? Or you tell people that?
No, a tank does not need to be pumped before we arrive. In fact, leaving it full indicates how it is functioning at the time.
Microphone.
You have
please.
pump out required, so then there's an issue going on, or?
So if it is found during the inspection that the solids are over a third full in the bottom of the tank, you have solids, you have a liquid layer, and then you have a scum layer. Once that solid gets up over a third, it can incapacitate the holes that separate chambers. And that's why they'll need to be pumped.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions, Councillor Heggie, please?
Just a question about, for year 3 coming up. Are we on pace to stay on track for that zone over on the west side of 21 to be done in this 3rd year? I think that should be done this coming year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So running numbers in the last week here, we are already looking at some of the settlement areas to start working to those. We have gotten down we will get down the lake shore this year.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Thank you very much for this report. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
I thought this was a great report, really do. Are you happy with how it's proceeding? Are there issues coming up that you didn't expect, or you're happy with the bylaws that exist and all that, and everything's tickety-boo?
Thank you. Joy, please.
With anything septic, you can tell when we start talking about issues, I'm a little passionate about it. So yes, I am happy that we are getting down the lakeshore. We are seeing properties and we are getting education out there so that people know how to operate their septic systems appropriately.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much for this, Joy, and what you're doing in this regard. Under the Administration Department, 9.1 is the clothing allowance. We have discussed this at a previous meeting, and we now have a motion, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this motion, please. Councillor Forrester moves, Councillor Miltenberg seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopts the clothing allowance policy number HR-215 dated February 3rd, 2026. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 9.2 is the Lucknow District Joint Recreation Board, the minutes and the proposed budget. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, additionally, we have under 9.3 the Lucknow Community Health Center Board. Again, the minutes and the budget. Information purposes. Comment or question from Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, thank you. I read in the minutes that the proposal was put forward to pay $500 a month now for cleaning, and I believe it's the doctor's side. I'm not exactly sure. Can I have some information on where that request came from, or why we're doing it, or who we're doing it for?
Okay. Question comes. Clerk, please.
So those were the minutes of last January. That was the last time we had a meeting. Since then, there's been no action. The staff did reach out and asked if they would like to have cleaning done. They did not respond. So this year we've removed it from the budget.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions or comments on this? Seeing none, we'll move on to the short-term rental licensing fee and the implementation schedule. As proposed by the committee, we felt it would be appropriate for a $350 fee to be recommended. Do we have any questions or comments from council on this? And if not, I'll entertain a show of hands if we are in support of this. And that is supported by council. Thank you. 9.5 is the Economic Development Committee minutes from the 15th of September and the budget for 2026. The proposed budget is $24,800. We had a budget last year for this committee that was not fully utilized. This is the proposal to come forward. And I'll open it up for questions or comments, and then I'll ask for a motion. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
I just thought it'd be easier to make a couple comments in case it's going to cover the questions. There are 3 different initiatives. The committee is aware that it will be a budget decision. How many or if any of them we do, they are actively looking for external sources of funding. I submitted a grant list of probably 15 grants we could look at. yeah, I would just suggest that we move it to the budget meeting and have the discussion then when we might have more information on grants.
Okay, thank you. Would you make a motion to that, for this, please?
Sure, whatever I need to say. I make a motion.
There's a recommended motion. And that would be
Yes.
that the council approve the inclusion of the proposed 2026 Economic Development Committee budget of 24,800 in the township's 2026 budget.
Yes, I would make that motion.
And seconded by Councillor Hecky. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 9.6 is the Community Improvement Plan for ACW. The committee has passed a motion recommending the council proceed with the development of a community improvement plan and formally initiate this process. I would, Councillor Miltenberg, please.
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder for this? Deputy Mayor Van Stone seconds that council directs staff to initiate the development of a community improvement plan in accordance with Section 28 of the Planning Act, and further that council approve the Economic Development Committee to act as the advisory body for the community improvement plan, including participation in its preparation, consultation process, and review of the draft plan prior to submission to council for approval by bylaw. Any additional questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion is read. And that is carried. Thank you. We have nothing under water today or drainage. We do have a public works activity report prepared for us for information purposes. Do we have any questions or comments of Tom on this report? If not, it has been a very stressful time with winter maintenance, and thank you very much, Tom, to yourself and all of your staff for everything that you have done in this regard for all residents in our municipality. 13 is council committee reports. Do we have any committee reports of any members of council that they would like to share at this time? Councillor Hickey first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two, just a quick one, a reminder for Maitland Valley. The annual general meeting is coming up February the 18th at 2 p.m. in the lower hall of the Blythe Community Hall. A good event coming, or a good schedule for speakers, and a good day coming in if anybody's available. I attended Roma. Some of the stuff I attended was one of the concurrent sessions was the dirt on cemeteries, which was a interesting one. Just talked about the responsibilities of the township for cemeteries when churches close up or abandon cemeteries. It talked about the care for them. Afternoon program, an excellent talk by Chantel Bear again. It was a different format from last year. Last year, she spoke at the podium, more of a speech. This was more of a sit-down question and answer with, I think, Krista Lowry, the chair of Roma, was the one that oversaw that. And she just has a different way of seeing everything, it seems, across all political, province, federal. It was quite the talk. Rob Flack spoke, and that was the first forum of the ministers. We had Premier Ford talk Monday morning. I sat in on getting accurate information to residents, which was talking about the decline of civic knowledge, the decline of local journalism, and the misinformation on social media. And it talked about how to be accurate, how to get accurate information about the services to the public, to the services and decisions of council to the public. The learning lunch I went to on the Monday was a lunchtime dive into water solutions, sponsored by Ontario Clean Water Agency, which was very informative. And then that afternoon was the Merit Styles, Lisa Thompson, and forum number 2, which was all good questions by the public. So I think it was an excellent event. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, St. Helens, while we haven't had an official meeting yet due to the weather, I am in continual contact with the chair. The St. Helens Valentine's Day event sold out 2 weeks ago. If you haven't got your tickets, be sad. I also attended Roma, and I think Evan's report was fascinating because not only did I not go the ones he went to, I didn't even see him there. Like, there are 2,000 delegates, and we did not coordinate what we were interested in. Actually, I went to a few of the same ones, but they were in the big plenary session thing, so we didn't see each other. I don't have much to report because you'll see this. The learning lunch I went to was Hydro One, how they fix our power outages. And I was hoping for a lot more pictures, but it was more the overall view, which also was educational. But anyway, I got a free book and I wrote all my notes in my old book, which I don't have. So I can look them up and report next meeting. But I also thought it was excellent. I really, really enjoyed Doug Ford's address, not for the words he said, but for the response that he was getting. And I don't know where you were, Evan, in that, but I was very close to whoever yelled out, talk about the conservation authorities, and which got a huge round of applause from our corner. He did not, just so you know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you. I had January 26th, just last week, a Zoom meeting with Community Safety and Wellbeing. It was quite a long meeting, and we identified some action items going forward, and it was more of a draft action plan meeting going into the 2026 year. And we're going to look at more digital media plans in the priority areas, as well as including impact stories and video series. And we're tossing around some information on a resource fair. We're looking at some lunch and learn opportunities for some of our partners. And the ad hoc committee meetings will be under a new format. And going forward, I received information from one of the staff members that kind of co-work together, Michaela Johnson, with the town of Goderich, and the proposed meeting dates for those ad hoc committees. There are a lot. So I'm hoping that myself and my co-chair, Mark Anderson from Central Huron, can help divvy those up a little bit. In addition, I attended Roma as well as my colleagues, and attended some of the same presentations that they did. The cemetery one was really quite interesting, and particular about the municipality that had a road going through one of their cemeteries, and the amount of money that they have spent in trying to sort that out and rectify it was quite interesting, and something I would never have thought of. I agree, Chantal Libert was very good. She has such a keen insight into the political world, and has her ear close to the ground on many of the decisions and thoughts that swirl through the heads of not only our government officials, but government officials south of the 49th parallel. And she made some great comments and insight comments on some of those initiatives and decisions that are being made in Ottawa and Washington. I also went to lunch and learn on natural gas. I wish I could say I was fascinated by it, but I have to say I was a little disappointed. And I also went to the, I guess it was a panel discussion on conflict of interest. Both the clerk, the CAO, and other council members were there, and I thought it was quite interesting. I did ask a question of the panel, and I was a little bit disappointed in the answer by our integrity commissioner, but in speaking with our clerk afterwards, she assured me that she has some ideas going forward if the province goes ahead with the suggestion to mandate that conflict of interest, how it plays out with new council members. And our clerk also reassured me that she has some additional ideas on how to address that situation. So I'll leave it up to her if she decides to talk about it, but I thought it was a good conference, and it was well attended. It was my understanding there were about 2,000 people there. So kudos to Roma for putting that on. It was incredibly informative.
Thank you. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, just to add, it looks like Anita and I went to many of the same things. I did see you several times. The Conflict of Interest Act, that was actually fascinating. And I was so relieved that our CAO and our clerk were there listening, because then the pressure's off us, right? Like, we kind of know what they're talking about. But yeah, there's some big changes coming, and I'm really glad that staff was there.
Thank you for that. Any additional committee reports? If not, I did want to comment at the last meeting. Councillor Forrester asked a question about county council activities and how it relates to ACW. And at our January 7th meeting, there's a report brought back by our Public Works on the request of ACW for speed display signs on County Road 25 as it approaches Highway 21. They have indicated that they plan to proceed with putting up speed display signs in that area. It is posted at a 70. The average speed is 77. And so that we can all look forward to happening to see those signs. I did attend the Lucknow Ag Society AGM on the 13th of January at the Lucknow Complex. And the Lucknow Fair is very important in our municipality. And I thanked all of the volunteers for all of the great work that they do to put on that fair, and it's very, very successful. I also attended the Roma conference with other colleagues. As indicated, Chantal Herbert's perspective is very, very interesting, and she certainly provides a very entertaining perspective. I also attended the OMER's governance changes and what that may look like, and Minister Flack received a lot of questions on that, and it will be further on our agenda, and I'll make additional comments. And there's absolutely some concern expressed on behalf of the municipalities. Minister Flack indicated that they are more from a standpoint of governance, and that was not the opinion of many others that commented on that. Variety, Doug Ford's comments were very, very interesting. Human health resources as it relates to long-term care is absolutely an issue. I attended a session on getting accurate information to residents, and we have to do it in many ways. And Deputy Clerk Thompson does a great job with communicating with our residents, and we need to continually do it in different ways to make contact with different ones on different levels. As indicated by Councillor Miltenberg, the power back on was very interesting as to how Hydro One goes about that in different areas, the big areas first, and then trickling down effect after that. I also attended the Code of Conduct. Our Minister of Rural Affairs, Minister Thompson, our MPP, made presentations, recognized different inspirational awards at that. Robin Jones spoke on behalf of AMO to the convention, and her comments were well received. Also a session on municipal election and the need for leadership. And all in all, it was a well-organized conference that had many very, very interesting topics for discussion. So under new business, is there anything that anyone would like to bring forward under new business for future meeting? Councillor Hecky, please.
Thank you. Our township landfill has the hours of April to November, Monday to Saturday, 9 to 3. December to March, it's Saturday, 9 to 3. So technically, it's closed on Monday to the public during those 4 months, even though we are still paying an employee 7.5, 8, 9 hours a Monday to sit there while the waste management trucks do the house-to-house pickup and drop-offs. So even with someone in the scale house being open, a random ratepayer would be charged $50 fee per gate fee for a trip to the dump that day while the employee's already there. So my question is, are we providing the taxpayers with the best service possible? So I request for a staff report at a future meeting. What are the cost savings dropping to 1 day a week in the winter? And I guess on the backside of that, what would it cost to be open for that 1 day through the winter? I've already spoke to Tom about this, and I look for this at a future meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That would be a topic for our staff. CAO, do you have a question or a comment on this,
You
please?
should probably get a consensus of the council.
I will. So I will ask council if we are in agreement that we would like this topic brought back to a future meeting. No, I think we should have some, would you like to make a comment first, Councillor Forrester?
Okay, I've drove past the north here in Landfill and it's open 3 days a week. So are we that much smaller or is that not necessary or?
Okay, fair enough. So I'm going to ask, that can all be part of a report that comes back. So I'll ask if council is in support of this topic at a future meeting. A show of hands, please. And that is supported by council. Okay, generic.
Yeah, very generic. Evan asked very specifically about something I'm thinking of more comprehensive report. Is that what we agreed to? Like he only asked about closing it on Fridays. I'm more interested in the huge topic of what's best. Like, does that make sense? A staff report would include more than Evan's question.
So what would you like the staff report to include?
Florence might have a better idea than I do of what I wanted to report.
Clerk, please.
I think it would be appropriate for us to bring the report back based on what was asked, and then that discussion can happen at the meeting.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anything else for under new business for an additional meeting? Councillor Snowden, please.
Well, as I mentioned in my my comments earlier about the conflict of interest, and in speaking with our clerk, I asked her a specific question, and at that presentation, and I asked if there was a way to address the issue of conflict of interest for people that will be submitting forms to run in the upcoming 2026 municipal elections as it relates to conflict of interest. And I asked the clerk if there was a way to ensure that anybody that would be seeking a position on council would, I guess, for lack of a better word, sign off on the rules around conflict of interest. The clerk indicated to me that she's working on something, so I guess I just want to formally put it out there that I've asked for this in an informal situation. The clerk is aware of it, and if she has any further comments on that piece of new business.
Okay, thank you. Clerk, please.
Just to reiterate, when a candidate, when a nomination takes place, when a candidate nominates in the office, there's certain things that I can give to them and they can acknowledge that they've received. I can't ask them to sign off that they'll agree to it. So they acknowledge, because a code of conduct is for a member of council, it is not for a candidate. So while I can give it to them, and my plan is, I think it's a great idea to make it as a part of the package, that it is expected that, you know, this will become part of what you're dealing with. When they become elected, then we go through the training and you acknowledge and you're required to partake because you now are officially a member of council. So my plan is to put it in the package and say, this is what you're going to be expected to adhere to, just so you are aware. But I can't ask them to sign off that they agree to adhere to a code of conduct during the election period.
Okay, follow up, Councillor Snowden, please.
So is there any point in asking for this under new business, that it come back in a staff report of some sort then?
With all respect, this is not a decision for council. The code of conduct, whether or not it gets included in a nomination package, is at the discretion of the clerk.
A follow up, please.
Yes, is there any other way to go about this other than as you suggested? It concerns me that people are nominated for a role on council and really don't understand what conflict of interest entails. They can be given a piece of paper. You don't know, as a staff member, as a clerk, you don't know if they've read it or agreed to it. And I know it becomes a moral issue, but is there a way that they can sign off on it without saying that I agree to it, that they just read it?
Clerk, please.
I can ask them to sign off that they've received it. That's about as much as I can do. It has no weight bearing. You know, the onus on a candidate running on their own principled merits, that's up to them. There are no requirements, you know, aside from the legal requirements of the age and citizenship for running. It is not an item for new business, no.
Very good. That answers my question. Thank you.
Is there anything else for a future meeting under new business? Seeing none, we'll move on to the correspondence for direction. We've had a request from the Goderich Lions Club for $2,500 for the Young Canada Hockey Week. We do have youth from ACW that are involved in this, and I will open it up for discussion from council on this. And first would be Deputy Mayor Vanstone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think I've said this before, but I think both of these things should be taken and given back to, brought back up at our budget meetings. And because we're going to have a lot of these, and this is, once everybody's found out that we have X amount of money they're all going to be looking for it. And I think we have to discuss this in more detail than we should today. So I would like to see this brought back up at budget time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I'm actually agreeing with you, Bill, more or less. There's not a whole lot of point in putting it to budget because it will be over, but I agree. We have this policy and now people are not going by the deadlines. We insist all our community groups have to have it in by January 31st, but everybody else just asks for it whenever. So they ask and they get it, and then the next year they do it again. You know, like there's no learning curve there. This organization has been going for 75 years. They certainly had the opportunity to know that they needed the money, and they could have asked it last year if they were going to look for it this year. The deadline's January 31st. We set the policy, we set the budget. I think we need to follow what we have set.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? So we need a direction on this. It has been the sentiment of Deputy Mayor Vanstone to defer to budget. Is that, and I'll ask if council is in support of that. 1, 2. That is supported by council. Thank you. 15.2 is the United Way Perth Huron Community Grant application, again for $2,500. And I will ask for discussion from council on this. And I'll first go to Councillor Miltenberg.
Well, I think I'm going to suggest we did what Bill said and is the other, but I would like to point out that United Way knows all about deadlines. They were here in the middle of the summer asking for money for a book, and we said there's a deadline. And it's the same organization asking outside of the deadline. So I think until we tell them no, like I think this is a great cause. I donated to this 6 weeks ago when I was first asked. There's certainly a delay between asking council and between when they knew they could ask council. So I think we have deadlines and I think we need to stick to them.
Kelly, please.
So they have met the deadline. It was on Saturday. It's just that their event are taking place before budget. So we have that window where a decision, and if we don't make a decision and they get approval, then we don't get the proper promotion naming. So they did meet the deadline.
Thank you for that clarification. Follow up, Councillor Miltenberg, please.
So did we give it to them last year?
Yes, we
May I
brought it.
continue with that?
We brought it to council ahead of budgets.
Right. So last year they were given pre-budget approval, and now they're getting the money without going against everybody else, right? So they did it last year and we did it, and now they're doing the exact same thing. They could have resubmitted it last year. You don't have to wait till January 31st. You could say, we're going to ask you every year, can you put it in? So it's at the right time. We gave them a one-off last year, and then this year they're doing the exact same thing. And that means that we're committing, 10% of our budget, something like that, to a group, not measuring it against the others. And I can't agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Can I ask, I know we did approve a grant to this organization last year. I just can't remember if it was 2,500 last year.
Treasurer, please.
Yes, it was 2,500, and as Kelly mentioned, it was approved around the same time last year.
Okay, thank you. Follow up, Councillor Snowblin.
I don't have a problem with supporting it because they were within the deadline and so on. And I do believe that it is a worthwhile cause. My issue stems more on, as my deputy mayor and I talked earlier about it, this is going to be a tough budget this year. And I think everybody has to learn to live within their means and without as much. And I don't mean just organizations, charitable, nonprofit organizations. I mean us individually. I got to look at my grocery budget because, gosh darn it, groceries are expensive, even if it's just for one person in my household. So I'm tightening my belt. I think everybody needs to tighten their belt in terms of what we're looking at for budget. I would be okay with donating $1,000, but I'll also add, I've consistently supported a particular person who walks in this every year since its inception. And I've had 2 more requests from other friends that are involved in this. So in all likelihood, I am going to be tripling my donation to this on a personal level. So, and that eats into my own grocery budget. So here we are, we're all taking a bit of a hit. I would support this, given the parameters that it's met the deadline. We've given it before, but I would suggest that $1,000 is plenty.
Okay, that's for consideration. Thank you very much. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
While I agree with Councillor Snowbin's comments, I'm still going to go with Bill on this because this, even if it's $1,000, it's $1,000 that somebody else isn't going to get. And this organization, we could tell them it's deferred to budget. They're not going to not have the walk if they don't get the money until a month later. We can still say we want to give them $2,500 and they get it afterwards. And if we don't get the promotion, oh well. It is a very well promoted event. If you ever went in the path, I was wearing the hat that says coldest night and it was all over billboards and it was changing. I kept pointing out I had the hat. I don't think that there is a downside to waiting it for the actual organization. The downside for us would be we're not going to get the promotion. But the upside would be then next year it will come in at the right time and it will be judged against all our community groups and our budget will be intact. So I'm going to suggest we defer this to budget.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? So Deputy Mayor Vanstone expressed a sentiment to defer this to budget. I'm going to ask for a show of hands if that is council's wish on this. And that is supported by council. Okay, thank you. Correspondence for information is 4 items. Is there anything that anyone would like to discuss on this? And I will go to Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, the Auburn Hall Board minutes. They're talking about the kitchen and Bill's talking about the kitchen. And I'm just wondering what's going on with the kitchen because one of the comments was they'd like to see a budget. And I guess I'm probably sure I asked this, but my mind's like a sieve. Who would see that? Would that be Central Huron or we would see it? Or is it all handled internally? Is it okay if Bill speaks to that?
Okay, thanks for the question. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the long story is that the kitchen definitely needs to have some work done on it. So right now we're waiting because Central Huron does the lion's share of it all. So they are going to have, and I can't remember his name right now, if you caught me by surprise here, but one of their people are going to go and try to get some quotes for us. And it'll be probably on down the road. It may not even happen this year because it seems to be a slow process. But yes, it is in the works. I don't know when it will happen, but we are going to hopefully get a quote this year. The Lions Club have put in their want list or their wish list so that this would make the kitchen a whole lot more better for them. And hopefully that comes out. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Miltenberg.
It does. It was a similar answer than when I 6 months ago. It does seem to be a slow process. So I'm just wondering if there's any movement at all. And it looks like it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. I just want to bring attention to 16.4, Maitland Valley draft a work plan and the budget. It's a 10-page report, I think it is. The first few pages describe what we have done and like what we are planning to do for the year. The last page, if everybody has it, does an excellent breakdown of Maitland Valley and their budget plan. It goes through all the municipalities that are part of a part of the watershed. It goes through the percentage of our land base that's there, population, it goes right through them. Over on the far right-hand side, it will show you the 2025 approved levy. And we're easy, we're the top line because Ashfield, A. So 2025, we were approximately 274,000. The proposed for 2026 is 295. That's an increase there. It shows of 21,000. That special levy, I don't have my book with me. That is a levy, a special project we committed to, a 4-year project, I believe it was, along the water with Century Huron and Goderich. So that's that 2026 draft special levy. And then the proposed levy for ACW is approximately 306,000. So that will be coming to budget meeting probably in March, I'm guessing. But I just wanted to highlight that. That's the work that we're doing throughout that report. And then that last graph specifically shows the asks that will be coming from Maitland Valley in the future. So if anybody has questions or comments here or after, call me, email me, whatever. But that's the way we're looking at for this coming season. Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting that. And the coast on Lake Huron is very important to ACW because of our 50 click of shoreline and the erosion that happens on that regard. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, thanks, Evan, for all your work on this committee. It's certainly becoming a much bigger job than we thought when we put you on it. So the levy increase was substantial, really. And I actually think we should do everything we can to support. But my question is more, is that because of the increased cost of operations, or is it because of downloading and the lack of support for certain programs? What makes up that increase?
It is both. I could do a further breakdown for you elsewhere, or I don't have the information with me for that specifically right now at this meeting, but it's both. There's downloads happening every year to us, plus the increased cost.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
I would be interested in that breakdown, and if council isn't, Evan can just send it to me, just out of curiosity.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Councillor Snowden, please.
Yes, I'd like to address 16.2, the AMO's, OMER's governance changes and their request for support. There was, I think Councillor Hickey mentioned kind of a fireside chat on these proposed changes at Roma, which I did attend. I feel that although I respect the idea that they're looking for support, I don't feel as a council member I have enough information on how the OMERS currently works and how it's being proposed to work by this Bill 68 and the Poirier report. The presentation that was given at OMERS, although it was very informative, it was very one-sided. It was from the OMERS side. There was nothing about it from the government side. And even though I think Rob Flack is the person that is in this, I guess, I just don't feel as a council or as a council member that I have enough information to say that I support this, despite it coming from AMO. And if anybody's interested in supporting this, I would probably vote to say no and refuse to support this.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm glad you brought that up, and I feel that a staff report at a future meeting would be appropriate on this so that we can be better informed as to whether we do want to support a letter or whether we don't. And I would ask for a show of hands from council if we are interested in a staff report to come back at a future meeting on this. Those that are in support of this. And that is supported by council. Okay, staff is good with that? Okay, thank you. Is there anything additionally for consideration on this? Okay, thank you. Under unfinished business and upcoming events is the OGRA conference, the 29th of March, 1st of April. Councillor Forrest and myself are registered for that. I would also like, with the approval of council, to be registered for the AMO conference in August. It is a very worthwhile conference, and I will just ask for a show of hands from council if you're in support of my attending, Emil. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Yes, please.
I was unaware AMO was on here. I would also like to attend AMO.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to attend AMO? CAO, please.
It was on our last agenda.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
So Councillor Miltenberg and myself, is there anyone else who would like to attend AMO? You're good with that, staff?
Yeah, the deadline was passed now, but we'll try to get you wherever you can, but it was on the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to bylaws, and it would be the Mackey removal of the holding symbol, and I will entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Moved by Councillor Blake, seconded by Councillor Forrester, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 04-2026, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 32-2008 as amended for the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and then it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this third day of February 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We do have a closed session today, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder to move into our closed session. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Snoblin seconds, at Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council move into a closed session in accordance with Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets B and C of the Municipal Act, with the CAO and clerk remaining in attendance for the duration, the treasurer for items 19.1 and the public works superintendent for 19.1 and 2 at 10:51 a.m. for the purpose of discussing personal matters about an identifiable individual, as well as a proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality. And that includes a tax sale, registrations, and public ownership of a private road. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Howbeit, we have a break for 9 minutes. We will be in recess and resume at 11 a.m. and provide our clerk the opportunity to secure the meeting. And I would like to thank all members of the public for your attendance and our staff.